So my topic of choice was physical education, and my name is Jordan Fachet, by the way. And the reason why I decided to choose physical education was because when I was younger, I was extremely physically active, and it was a process for me with my asthma and being able to understand that there's more rather than just school. I understand school is important, but I also think that being physically active is just as important because it allows you to be physically active throughout your life. And with all the, chronic diseases like childhood obesity happening, that I think being physically active is a big step forward to preventing that happening. So what I'm going to kind of get through here are my research questions, and then I'm going to go through my 6 articles that I found and give you guys a little knowledge about physical education and why it's necessary. So what we have there on your papers as well, and I have my PowerPoint, is research questions. My first research question is, how many hours per week do children need physical activity compared to how many hours they actually are getting? I think this is a major concern. I think that teachers think their children are being physically active instead of actually being physically active, because 15 minutes at recess and we'll say 30 minutes at lunch because they're eating for about 15 minutes is not enough time. The fact that you have a physical education class that might be 40 minutes, that's still not enough time. I think an hour a day is how it should be, and I think that's a big step forward in creating physical education into the curriculum. My second research question is, does physical activity or physical education benefit academic success? That was one of my biggest questions, because there's teachers that I know don't believe that academic success comes from being physically active, but then there's teachers that think that it'll benefit them inside the classroom, and I'll get to that when I get to my next few slides. So my first article was Effect of Physical Education and Activity Levels on Academic Achievement in Children. So the first thing that I want to talk about is that many schools are either reducing or eliminating physical education throughout their lives, meaning in the grades 1 through 5, about 50% of the classes do physical education. In grade 8, it's 25%, and when you get to grade 12, it's down to 5%. The fact that it goes down progressively is leading to a less healthy lifestyle, meaning as you get older, you don't have to be as healthy, is the wrong way to look at it. The next thing that I look at is PE, physical education, is being replaced by other classes like math, like art, like history, etc. And they're doing this because of the standardized tests and the fact that students need to be able to pass those tests in order to move on. But yet physical education is just getting put in the background, and that's not how it should happen. This study had that students that perform vigorous physical activity achieve better grades on the standardized tests and inside the classrooms than those that did not do physical education at all. So I thought that was extremely interesting to see that it does benefit them inside the classroom. And I know it's just one study, but you'll see from the next studies that it actually is true. So my next article that I have is Parents' Perception of Physical Activity for Their Children with Visual Impairments. Now, I wasn't doing anything about visual impairments, but it also had to do with physical education, so I wanted to check out this article. And it really opened my eyes to giving equal opportunities. That was the first thing that this article talked about, and I think that it's a huge step forward in being able to get other students involved that might not be as physically active because they can't see as well or they can't hear as well. So I think that's another step that we need to take. One of the programs that was in this was the Individualized Education Program, which is the IEP. This is a contract in between the students, the families, and the schools that allows their students to have the appropriate education required in physical education, and it meets the family's needs. So this is a huge thing that I think other schools need to incorporate, being able to get that contract in there, because it allows their students to know what kind of physical education they're going to get into and how much they're going to do. The problems here are that teachers aren't taught the right ways how to teach physical education, and so that's one of the big things they talk about in this article, that we need teachers that are taught physical education rather than math teachers teaching physical education. So I thought that was interesting to see. They say that social skills, being able to express themselves, character, and cognitive skills are also benefits of physical education at the end of this article. So my next article is Physical Education in Primary Schools. This was more of a teacher-based study where we interviewed the teachers and we saw how much they think physical education is needed, and they believe it's extremely positive and that the impact on learning inside the classroom is huge. and that physical education helps with physical, social, cognitive, and behavioral skills inside the classroom. There were three main contexts in this article that the teacher said that they think structure for physical activity is one that comes out of physical education, scholastic achievement, and then that physical education should be implemented inside the classroom and in the curriculum. My next article was Are Physical Education Majors Models for Fitness? So this one brought in actual physical education teacher education majors. These are people that major in physical education that get their degree to be physical education teachers, which I thought was awesome. So what they did with this study was they had physical education educators, who are the majors, and then non-majors go through 6 physical fitness tests to see the difference in the studies of who is the major and who's not the major. And the biggest difference was the 1 mile run that they did, and the physical education majors ran it in 8.92 minutes per second, whereas the non-physical majors ran it in 10.86 minutes per second. So you can see the difference in that of being physically active throughout your life, rather than just stepping back in and just trying to run a mile, or as they have here, push-ups and curl-ups. So I think that shows that being physically active throughout your life is a benefit to your health and to other kids, showing them that you can be physically active throughout your life. My next article was Physical Education and Academic Achievement in Elementary Schools. This one had 4 major points. The 4 major points are less chance of experiencing chronic disease like childhood obesity, more likely to remain physically active, the benefit in behavioral and cognitive skills, and then academic achievement as a GPA, test scores, specific courses, and concentration inside the classroom. This study was done kindergarten and 1st grade, and then 3rd through 5th grade, which was perfect for elementary school. They gave kindergarten gets 16 to 30 minutes a day, where 3rd and 5th grade gets 31 to 60 minutes per day. And the study, what they said was that it's not nearly enough for the kindergarten and 1st graders who really have a lot more energy than the older kids. And so if they give those kids more time to run around and play games and do things like that, they'll be able to concentrate more inside the classroom. And my last article was the physical activity in U.S. public elementary schools. So what we have here is they're trying to find methods to increase the physical activity inside the schools. But the problem is that, you know, in certain areas, the economy and the socioeconomic status are not as high as others. Therefore, it's a lot tougher to implement physical education when they believe that academics is more of a key success in teaching these lower level schools. So they're trying to figure out ways, and that's where the American Alliance for Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance comes in, to work with these schools to really put on an hour either before, during, or after school to get them working. And physical education was a huge part of my life, and that's what I'm trying to implement into these kids. And that's my spiel. Any questions?
I think,
good job.
I'll take the first one. So, it seems that the budget is kind of the greatest factor in, you know, whether you have it or not. Have you come up to any studies that kind of give you an idea of how this can be?
Well, that's where the programs, all these programs are nonprofit, where you don't have to pay them to come in to do this, where they go around to schools and they put on physical education. They put on workshops for teachers to learn how to teach physical education, and they come in and do that, like the after-school programs that have, Boys and Girls Club. You know, going there and having kids that are physically active is huge, because they can get an hour of physically active time where they might not get that during the school that they go to.
Okay.
So.
And then being a big PE person, just like you are, I was thinking that, have you come up to any studies where PE is incorporated into the core subjects? Like, for example, I taught a math class. I taught a KC preparation class at North Monterey County, and there I tried to incorporate PE because the kids, it was a long period, so I tried to take them outside to the track, and we set, you know, whiteboards on, you know, different sectors in the track, and then they do a problem and they have to run to the other one and make it a competition.
That's really cool.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't remember having that in PE.
I haven't found any articles where they try to implement history, math, science into being outside. I mean, that was my first initial thought, was why not get these classes to be outside? It's a beautiful day out there. Go outside, run around, do things, because then that'll also keep them interested in the subject. Instead of it being boring inside the classroom just writing on paper. I like that, but I haven't come across, and I think a few of my partners have, but I have not seen anything yet.
Okay, that's just something you guys can
definitely
look at. And then my last question for you was, what is your action through this project?
What we want to do as a group, we want to go to, because we're doing 3 different schools. One's going to Robert Down Elementary, that's me, and then one of them's going to McKinnon, and then another one I think is going to one in Morgan Hill, where we want to be able to go around and do workshops for these schools, where we get the teachers, for the teachers, so we can educate them on physical education and be able to show them certain activities, have lesson plans written up, whether they have 30 minutes, an hour, whatever their time is, we can have certain lesson plans for that time, so they can use it and start using it and incorporate that into their curriculum.
I have a question. These 6 physical fitness tests, are they like national?
No, this was just the tests that were done in this study.
I remember doing all this.
Oh, I know. Like we've always had to do them, but they don't do them with all the kids anymore. That was just in the study at the 4-year college that they did this at.
He's still going.
I remember that too.
Yeah, his speech was like 7.
Yeah.
I like the idea of doing something either before school or after school, because I know the time constraint is such a big issue too, as well as with funding. So
Yeah, especially, and they want to keep academics, and I understand that, right? I understand school's extremely important, but you can get there either from 7 to 8, or even, I know kids would prefer not to wake up earlier, so do it, they get out of school at 3, do it from 3:30 to 4:30, and then it allows their parents to get off work and come get them at around 5, so I mean, it can work hand in hand, in that case. So yeah, I think there's definitely different ways to incorporate it into the curriculum.
I think that would be something to do before you incorporate it, because there'd probably be resistance to that. So.
Yeah. And I mean, that's why we're kind of feeling it out and seeing what other teachers think. We have to do our interviews, and then I want to get a few principals' ideas, see if they've ever tried to do something like that. But I mean, that's what the Boys and Girls Club is. I've worked there before. So I've seen kids come over, and I asked them, I was like, what'd you guys do today in school? They would never talk anything about PE. So I would take them into the gym, and I would do some like sprints, and then we would play soccer or basketball or whatever. And they would love it. They get to run around, they get to play, and you know what? Their parents would probably love it because they'd be tired at the end of the night. So
I think that goes back to funding again, because I know for after school programs, I'm pretty sure
it's tough. After school programs, you would have to pay. The teachers that work there would have to be paid overtime or something like that. So that's why you want to bring in
even
those.
having your child in the program, you gotta pay for it, so it might be an extra charge.
And that's why you want to get those programs that are the
Not everybody has
nonprofits
that
come in.
opportunity though.
Yeah, exactly.
Because where I'm from, we had a Boys and Girls Club, but they actually got robbed. All their stuff was taken away. Yeah.
See, I never had a
So,
Boys and Girls Club. When I came up here, it was the first time I ever heard of it.
Yeah, so they don't even have one anymore.
That's crazy.
That's very lame.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
And now it's just infested by homeless people. So, yeah. You don't even see kids at that park anymore, really.
Where are you from?
I'm from Merced. Yeah. Good job.
There you go.